Good morning, Anne Arundel County. Good morning, America. Welcome to Promoting Don't Get Fooled Again with Class. I'm your host, Anthony Bynum. The name of our production company is the Glen Burnie Players. These are exciting times here in Anne Arundel County for a lot of different reasons. But before we start on the show, I have to mention last week's concert, the one I went to the stadium in Baltimore City. I'm not sure it was one they worked on. I forget the name of the stadium, but it was big, and it might have been the old Royal Farm Stadium. I'm not quite sure, but we had a great time. Yes, it was Earth, Wind, and Fire and Lionel Richie, and what a show they put on. It's funny because about 10 minutes before Earth, Wind, and Fire was going to go on, I looked around and I said that, well, it seems about, three-quarters full. I don't get it. I don't get it. By the time the first song was over, it was packed. I said to myself, who comes late to a Earth, Wind, and Fire concert? Who does that? Oh, I couldn't help myself. I had to videotape some of the songs from both. I had forgotten how prolific Lionel Richie was after leaving the Commodores. I had forgotten. For like 10 years, he dominated top 40 radio. So if you want to see some of those clips, you can see them on my YouTube channel. That's Anthony Bynum, 1948. As a matter of fact, there's some other things on there also. A good friend of mine, great drummer extraordinary, Wes Watkins, he's on there also. And there's some other alternatives that we talked about in the past. So if you get a chance, it's Anthony Bynum, 1948. I'd rather at Anthony Bynum 1948. Put that in the browser and it'll come right up. Let's talk about this week's show. First, we want to credit where credit's due. So one of our main sources is Wikipedia. They do some fantastic work. Always support that group. The other, though, comes from the Wisconsin DNR, which is a government agency. You'll see in a few moments where we borrowed some information from them, people that I admire. So let's start off by doing some sharing right now. Okay, very good. Yes, we're talking about the Say Hey Kid himself, Willie Mays, one of the greatest baseball players ever to live. And 100 years from now, they're going to say one of the greatest baseball players that ever lived. So let's look at the fundamentals first. Born 5/6/1931 and still going strong. He's 93 years old. He was born in Westfield, Alabama. He was a legend, and we're going to talk about why he was a legend in a little bit. He is a legend, rather. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Willie Mays came around at the right time. Baseball had been integrated a little earlier with Jackie Robinson, and teams were actively looking for great Black baseball players. At the age of 17, while still in high school, Willie Mays signed with the Birmingham Black Barons of the old Negro Leagues. Oh, I would love to have some of that memorabilia. Woo! He graduated from high school in 1950, and he was signed by the New York Giants that same year. He won the Rookie of the Award in 1951 as the Giants won their first pennant in 14 years. This guy, right? That's a wave, right? That's a splash. That's an entrance, right? So he's a legend for the following reasons. One, at that time, baseball was clearly still the country's pastime. Two, newspapers were still king of the media, and more people read about Willie Mays than ever saw him play. And three, the over-the-shoulder catch made in Game 1 of the 1954 World Series is perhaps the most talked about play in the history of baseball. His stats are unreal, okay? He was an all-star for 24 years. Let me say that again. He was an all-star for 24 years. 2-time National League MVP, 12-time Golden Glove winner. But we need to talk about those Golden Gloves a little bit, because the sports writers, seeing his incredible play in the field, realized that they needed to create an award for great fielding. It was because of this guy, Willie Mays. So compare that with widening the lane in the NBA from 6 feet to 12 feet to slow down the first great big man of the game, George Mikan. or to set up offensive goaltending rule to try to slow down the great Wilt Chamberlain, or the no dunking rule, which was set up while the then Lou Alcindor, now Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was still in high school, right? These guys transcend. They're that good. They're that good. So I can't leave on this Willie Mays issue without talking about uh, other aspects of his game, right? Now, he had the power. He had 660 home runs. Yes, let me say that again. 660 home runs. But he's also fast as a demon. He stole 338 bases. He led the league in base stealing from 1956 to 1959. His career batting average was 302. You couldn't keep the guy off the bases. And once he was on the bases, then you worry. It changes the whole complexity of the game. Baseball is different from the other sports. It's a different type of sport. You have to look at what's actually going on in the field. And there's a lot of X's and O's. And one player can make a tremendous difference. He was that guy. He was that guy. So in those days, this was still segregated America, okay, in the 50s. Willie Mays could do whatever he wanted. There were a few other people like Willie Mays who could do whatever they wanted. Louis Armstrong, the great Satchmo, he could pretty much move where he wanted to move. Mahalia Jackson, she was huge, right? So there have always been those types of people around. And today we want to honor Willie Mays because, wow, right? In baseball, you think about Jackie Robinson integrating the game. You think about the great Henry Aaron, who was magnificent and did it with so much class. Has there ever been anybody with more class than Henry Aaron? Willie Mays, right in that small circle. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to move on. All right. Parks. The very first episode of Don't Get Fooled Again, I previewed two parks. One of them was the Thomas Dixon Observatory, which is actually controlled by the airport, the BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport, or Thurgood Marshall BWI Airport. And the other was the Sawmill Creek. Parks are important. They're a place where we can go, we can walk, we can do some activities with the beauty and presence of nature, but a little bit of man-made added amenities. So just the other day, we went over to Lake WaterFord Park. I'm going to be bringing in some video so you can get a look at that. And at the end, there may be some additional video also. So Lake WaterFord Park is located in Pasadena. It's actually located at 830 Pasadena Road. It has 108 acres of beauty. It has a pier and a little lagoon. And I want to talk about that lagoon for a moment. Because when Anton, my oldest son, was 12, 13, 11, somewhere in there, he got a boat with pirates. We still got it, by the way. And he wanted to put it in the water because that's what boats are supposed to do. They're supposed to sail. So we go out to Lake WaterFord Park. We get out of the car, mind our own business. And there's this park ranger. And he sees the boat. And he's having conniptions in his brain. I don't know what's going on with this guy. He kind of walks over to us. He tells us in so many words, don't put the boat in the water. Well, I guess I listened to him. I don't know. We kept going to the water. Anton puts his boat in the water. And he's right behind us. I told you not to die. And he's freaking out. I said, what's going on, man? You know, what's going on? Maybe he was getting ready to retire. I don't know. But anyway, the boat came back in with the tides because it's a lagoon. If he had watched Gilligan's Island, he would have realized that's the reason why they could never leave the island, because it was a lagoon. Tough to get out of the main spread there. Anyway, chances are he's not watching the show. So, but in keeping with the issue of lakes and water, we're going to turn now to a poem. This one, as I noted, is made available to us from the Wisconsin DNR, which is the government agency in the great state of Wisconsin. All these 5 poems, there are 5 here, they were inspired by Lake Superior and written by Nancy Franz. So I'm just going to read one. It's called On the Lake. Here we go. Familiar faces, familiar places, a sense of home. New faces from faraway places, widening horizons. Learning in rhythm with the sunset, trusting and stretching, to coming together with water and wind, consolidating thought, discovering wisdom inside and out, at home on the lake. We may have to come back to her later because that was really quite nice. It was really quite nice. A great writer allows you to use your imagination, but puts you someplace. And that was great writing from this Miss Nancy Franz. So we may come back to her later. Anyway, just to recap, great concert last week. And at Anthony Bynum 1948, if you want to see some of those alternative options, because I think options are good. And we're going to keep pressing forward. Looks like a beautiful day here in the neighborhood, as Mr. Rogers would say. For everyone here for promoting, don't get fooled again with class. I'm your host, Anthony Bynum. Name of our production company is Glen Burnie Players. Until next time, bye-bye.